Well, we've gotten quiet again like it's church. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Heritage Foundation. I'm John Hilbolt, Director of Lectures and Seminars. We're pleased everyone can join us here in our Douglas and Sarah Allison Auditorium. We, of course, welcome those who join us on each occasion via the Internet at our heritage.org website. We remind everyone in-house now is a good time to check cell phones and pagers to see that they've been turned off. And we remind our Internet viewers on each occasion questions can be submitted to our speaker addressed via email to speaker@heritage.org. Hosting our program this morning is Dr. Tim Kaine. Dr. Kaine is our Director of the Center for International Trade and Economics here at Heritage. Prior to joining the Foundation, he was a senior economist at the Joint Economic Committee, was a professor of economics at Occidental College and San Diego State University, and served as an intelligence officer with the U.S. Air Force. Next week, one of his department's key projects, the 2007 Index for Economic Freedom, will be issued. He'll be on that launch tour. And as I've told our guests, we like to make sure we put our books on top of their books, so you have two opportunities to discuss books here. Dr. Kaine was a graduate of the Air Force Academy. He received his Ph.D. in economics from the University of California at San Diego. Tim, I'll turn it over to you now.
Welcome, everyone, to the Heritage Foundation. I have the unique honor of introducing a rock star. There's been a flood of interest for Mark Steyn's appearance today, and he has written a fantastic book. I imagine most of you have read it. It's actually been a little bit difficult to actually get space at this event today because we've had so many requests, and of course Mark will be available afterwards. It's a little bit humbling when you have so many fans that I'm the one that actually gets to do the introduction, Mark, so I hope I can live up to it. I have to say that Mark is, he's everywhere, right? He's been blogging, he's been hosting radio shows, he's just a brilliant writer, but he's one of these writers, and if you've read this book you understand it, that he makes you angry. And if you don't agree with him, certainly he'll make you angry because he takes strong stands. If you do agree with him, he makes you angry because you think, why did God give so much talent to him when I've been struggling for so long to write well? And I was furious reading this book because it just flows so well. So it really is just fantastic to have you here, and we're glad. By way of introduction, I looked at the Wikipedia entry for your bio. I know there's one inside the jacket cover and there's your official bio, but I thought this was interesting nonetheless. Conservative Canadian journalist, columnist, and film and theater critic. And of course, we've brought you here for your opinion on King Kong. That's the main issue. He's actually a columnist. Mark Steyn is a columnist for the Chicago Sun-Times, the New York Sun, the Washington Times, the Orange County Register, National Review. He's written extensively for the Atlantic Monthly and is a regular there. The New Criterion, Maclean's, The Australian. I could go on. And I thought it was worth running through this list to show you how prolific Mark is and how well regarded he is with regular columns on multiple continents. Mark was born in Toronto, resides in New Hampshire, and has some serious things to say in this book about the future for Europe, the future for America, and of course the title of the book, America Alone, feels more and more like that's true. Not necessarily alone by choice, but alone due to a number of circumstances that are helping shape the world we move into. And I know a big part of Mark's talk will be demographics, and I want to say off the hand, my wife and I just had our fourth child, so it's not our fault, Mark. There are problems in Europe. There are problems in America, and working on the Index of Economic Freedom has made it more clear than ever to me that the welfare state is a problem. As an economist, I understand incentives drive everything, and when people don't have the right incentives to work hard, to be productive, to think independently and critically for their own security and the security of their children, if they have children, then they reach the wrong conclusions. And thank God we have Mark Steyn to help remind us what the right conclusions are. With that, please join me in welcoming Mark Steyn to speak to us today.
Thanks very much for that warm introduction. And I know you said it was difficult, but you pitched it just right. I gave a speech in 2005 out in California, And the guy did this fantastic introduction, and he quoted all my best lines from the 1990s when I was a lot funnier, because we spent the decade just making Clinton sex jokes, basically. And this guy basically reprised some of his favorite lines from my columns, and I began to notice that actually there weren't any favorite lines from after 2001. They were all from back in the 90s when things were a lot funnier. He mentioned that I'd written a column about Monica's dress. The conceit being that I was interviewing the dress after it had entered the witness protection program, had reconstructive surgery, and was living as a pair of curtains in Idaho. I was getting big laughs with this bit from my column, and then I was in the odd, I was on the Laura Ingraham show just now, and following these hilarious clips she had of Robert C. Byrd, and I said to Laura, I don't want to follow Robert C. Byrd as my warm-up act again. And I felt listening to my reprises of my greatest hits in this introduction that I didn't want to follow myself again. It was like my dad went to see Elvis in Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto in 1956. And they had this Irish tenor who came on first and who sang "I'll Take You Home Again, Kathleen" and "Roses of Picardy." And you couldn't hear a word. Everyone was just baying for Elvis. And I felt, listening to my greatest hits from the 90s, and then coming on and talking about the end of the world, that they'd had Elvis on first, and I was the loser Irish tenor nobody wanted to hear. So anyway, it is a great pleasure to be here to depress the hell out of you. Let me say first of all why I wrote my book. I wrote it for two reasons, and the pompous reason was to sort of change the way we think about the war on terror. Islamic terrorism, as I see it, including nuclear terrorism even, is not the disease but merely a symptom. And it's a symptom of two things: the weakness of the West and a very particular strength of Islam. And tonight the President will speak yet again on Iraq. And it's important to win in Iraq, and it's important to be seen to win. But Iraq is only one front in a broader struggle. And in that broader struggle, we cannot win if we think we can rely solely on the 3rd Infantry Division and the US Marine Corps and a troop surge here and a troop surge there. There's something bigger that is at play here. And the reality is that even if there were no Al-Qaeda, no Hezbollah, no President Ahmadinejad, no bombs in Bali and in Madrid and London, we would still be in danger of losing without a single bomb going off anywhere. Now, how can that be? Radical Islam is a weak enemy. It's militarily, economically, technologically inconsequential. But it thinks it's strong where it counts. It has youth and will. And the Western world, for the most part, has neither. We're showing classic signs of civilizational exhaustion. And that's a very hard thing to buck. I focus on two symptoms in the book: the demographic decline in Europe, Russia, Japan, Canada, and just as important, I think, the signs of loss of will right here in the heart of the superpower. To take that first thing, demography, apart from America, just about every other member of the G8, of NATO, every other second and third tier power has given up having babies. Your 4 children would make you a very bizarre sight on the streets of most European cities these days. And if you and your wife walked around with those 4 young children, people would assume you were running a daycare. And in most parts of the world, it would be a government daycare too. And that in itself is part of the problem. In a lot of those countries, in Russia, France, Germany, Britain, just north of here in the province of Quebec, they've imported large Muslim populations to be the children they never had. These Muslims don't want to hijack planes and fly into tall buildings, but large numbers of them, if not significant majorities, share the aims of the people who want to fly the planes into the tall buildings. That's to say, they want to live under Islamic law, not in Yemen and Pakistan,